Hi y'all, welcome to my channel, and in today's video I am going to be giving you an honest review on what I thought of the Earth Science unit from Gather Round Homeschool. What worked for us, what didn't work for us, and whether or not we are going to be using it this year. So stay tuned. Alright, well, if you are new, welcome to my channel, Pursuing Peace. My name is Dina, and I am a homeschool mama of 5 kiddos, 6 and under. And on this channel, I share my passions for Christ, for homeschooling, and for encouraging mamas in their faith, and in this amazing, even though it's crazy, but it is super amazing season of motherhood. So if you'd like to join me on this journey, then click the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to click the little bell icon so that way you know whenever new videos pop up. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Dina_Pursuing Peace. So if you are following me over on Instagram, you know that we were trying out the Earth Science unit from Gather Round Homeschool. And on Instagram, I gave you like daily updates of how it was going and how I set things up and kind of how, we just kind of try to make it work for our family. I'll be showing some of those clips a little bit later on in the video, but first I wanted to explain to you guys exactly what I got. So I did not get the entire unit. I only got the free week's worth of lessons that's available on the Gather Round Homeschool website. So everything that we did is completely available to you guys also, so you can go and try this out for yourself. So a week's worth of lessons includes 4 lessons, and the lessons in here specifically are lessons 5 through 8? 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, math skills. So it's lessons 5 through 8 in here. And the reason I decided to do this was because for my family, at least, it can be a little bit pricey to have an entire unit printed out. And I'll explain how much it costs in just a little bit. So I was so excited when I found out that they offer a week's worth of free lessons. I think that is so great on the company's part. And it's not just one lesson, it's a week's worth of lessons. So that way you can really kind of get in there and figure out if this works for you. So the way that this curriculum is laid out is that you get a teacher's manual, and then you also get individual notebooks, and you'll see those in the clips that I have of when we actually went through the unit study. But they have different levels. They have a pre-reader workbook, early elementary workbook, and then they have upper elementary, and I believe then they have middle school, and then they have high school. So you just get whichever workbook is appropriate for the level that your child is in. And so like I said before, it can be a little bit pricey to print all of those different levels out, plus the teacher's manual. So I didn't want to do that and then maybe find out that it doesn't work for us, and then have done all that work and spent all that money for nothing. And so so it's really great that they have this 1 week's worth of lessons. And so speaking of the cost, I wanted to tell you exactly how much it costs for you to get this curriculum. So of course, if you go online, you can see all of this for yourself, but you can either choose to print it yourself, so you can get the digital bundle, or you can have them printed for you. So first, let's talk about how much it costs to just buy the digital. For the full bundle that comes with the teacher's manual and all of the different student level workbooks, you can download all of those for $49.95. So around $50, you can get everything pretty much you need in a digital file, and then you would choose how you want to print it and bind it and do all of that on your own. If you are only using this for one student, you can actually buy the teacher's manual and choose the student level that you need. So one teacher's manual, one student level for $19.95. So all you have to pay is $20 and you can have the teacher's manual and one student level. I thought that was a really good deal. If you wanted them to print it for you and send it to you, then the teacher's manual in full print costs $25, and each individual student workbook costs $30. So I needed the teacher's manual, and I needed at least 3 different student workbooks. So for me, if I wanted to have it printed, it would be over $100 for the whole thing. If I did not want to have it printed and I just wanted the digital copy, it'd be $50, but then I have to print it myself, which I believe the teacher's manual is like 150 pages or something like that. And my printer isn't like the best printer in the world. It did this really well for the 1 week that we needed it to, but it's not, like a heavy duty printer. But if you are interested in seeing how people bind these different types of unit studies, my friend Christy over at One Blessed Mess, she just did a video and kind of walks you through on how she prints and binds it at home. So I will leave that video down in the description box for you so you can check that out if that's something that you're interested in. Plus, my friend Jamie over at Simply Living It and Shauna over at World of Washable both have tutorials on how you can get these books printed on barnesandnoble.com, and it's super cheap to do it that way too. So I will leave both those links down below. Also, I have another video for you. Ashley over at Home Sweet Homeschool has an entire video on just the different binding methods. I think I've watched that video a few different times just to see all the different binding methods that are available out there. So I will leave her video linked down below so you can check those out too. So those are a bunch of different resources that you can go if you do want to get this curriculum and you want to figure out what the best way to print it and bind it is for your family. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and show you a little bit of how our week went and the different video clips that I took during the week. And then you can also see kind of the evolution of how it all happened. I went through and showed how I set things up for my kids because my kids are still small. Most of them don't know how to read yet. And so how I set things up for them and how I set things up for the little kids and how the pre-reader works with the early reader notebook and all of that different stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. Okay, y'all, so today we did lesson 2. So I'm gonna give you kind of our first impressions for day 1 and day 2. And how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna go ahead and flip the camera around. I'm gonna show you the inside of the teacher's guide, plus I wanna show you the inside of the other 2 levels that I'm using. Okay, you guys, so this is the teacher's guide, and since it's just a week's worth of stuff, I just printed it out 2-sided, and I am just using these binder rings to hold it all together. So the first thing, and I don't know if I actually printed this out right, so so what you'll get, this is all free for you online, so I'm not going to kind of go through here. This you could just, you know, see it all online, but I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you what we did and what I thought about it. So there's this, and the student books have this also, so they were able to color that, so that's nice. There's lesson plans here, but obviously, you know, I did not need that. There's table of contents. So, and not only do I want to show you this, but I also want to show you which levels that I printed out. So I got the early reader for both Abigail and Solomon, my first grader and my kindergartner, and then I got the pre-reader for my pre-K student. And now, even though my kindergartner is not a reader per se, this stuff was too easy for him. So I'll show you kind of what we did in here and what he was able to do. So as you can see here, first glance, the very first thing is it's a lot of reading on my part. And now it is broken up, which I really like. It's got activity breaks here where you go online and watch a video. And then it's got pictures that you can show them. And then it's got another activity break here. And then here are some optional spelling words, and it's broken down by the different levels. So fault is the optional spelling word. And then it's got these hands-on adaptations. And for this one, it's just building a structure that can withstand an earthquake. So I really like that it's got this. That was fun. And then here, it'll just show you what your kids are doing in the different notebooks. So that's kind of how a lesson is planned out. So while I am reading this, I will show you the early reader. So they were coloring this because it was one of the first things, but this is like at the very beginning of their book. So they're not always going to have a big coloring page like this. But so what they were doing is they were coloring this, which this is Abigail's book, and she didn't actually get to coloring it because she was coloring her world. And so, yeah. And then they colored Thailand, so she found Thailand and she colored that in. So she copied this bird, and then she can't write out everything quite yet, and so she just told me what she learned, something that she learned at the end of the lesson, and I wrote it in there for her. So this part up here is all being done as they're doing this. It went better than I originally thought. I did lose my preschooler pretty early on, and like all of this stuff, I'm not really sure how much they actually grasped from this. The video though was really good. They got a lot of information from that video and then this other video up here. So I really like that. So then after we read all of this, then we went and we did their notebooks. And so here all they did is they traced the fault lines. This talks a little bit about the Ring of Fire. And let me go ahead and show you. So this was my first graders and this is my kindergartners. And I printed it out kind of wonky, so that's why the pages are kind of all over the place. But see, he didn't even do this because we didn't get to that part for him. But he enjoyed coloring all of this and copying. And he found Thailand on his own, which is really great. And he traced the fault lines. And I'm not sure if we really even got to the Ring of Fire for him, but that's what that is there. And then the next one is tracing. So they traced this Bible verse, and then down here they did where it says that ICE spells the word ice normally when it's by itself, but when it's at the end of the words it sounds like is. So then we wrote the ice at the end of the word, and then they read the words. And Solomon, my kindergartner, was able to do that also, and then he was able to read the different words, so that was nice. And then we read this here, and then I asked them questions about it, and they answered whether it was true or false. See, we did that up here. And this is Abby's rendition of the Hawaiian Islands. So, and then the last part of lesson 5 was drawing a tsunami. And I thought I was a little bit scared about this, but these guys are surfing. They're not like drowning and dying in the tsunami. So anyway, so he really enjoyed that. So that was okay. It was all okay. It took us maybe about an hour and a half to do all of this. And we tried doing it in the living room and it was okay, but my baby was right there next to us and my 2-year-old was right there next to us, and it started to get a little bit crazy. I did lose my preschooler pretty early on because some of this stuff was just too much for her. She couldn't sit for very long. She colored this, she colored this. I'm not even sure if she got to Thailand or anything like that. So the first day, it actually went a lot better than I thought. Okay, so we're getting ready to start day 3 of our Earth Science from Gather Round Homeschool, and I've got snacks for everybody this time, and I've got, spill-proof cups and their crayons and everything, their notebooks, everything they need. Little one is over here and she is eating. Once she gets done there, then I'll just kind of let her go play. I'm actually going to have Aubrey finish her handwriting from The Good and the Beautiful as we're doing that if she needs kind of extra work, extra help. So yeah, we're going to get started. Yay! The melted water then flows around the barrier and freezes again when the pressure is no longer there, causing the glacier to move over the rocks slowly. Solomon, move like a glacier. Move like a glacier. And that is just what happened after the Titanic sunk. New rules were made to have enough lifeboats for every single passenger on every ship. Okay, so we are going to start our day 4 with Gather Round Homeschool, and I set it up a little bit differently. I still gave them snacks, no water. The juice was fine yesterday, but it was just a lot of distraction from what we were actually doing. So just some apples for snacks so they don't need any like juice or anything. And with Aubrey, I looked through the pre-K stuff, and the rest of it that was in there was going to be something that she couldn't do on her own. So I actually pulled out some stuff from our Letter of the Week curriculum for her to sit down next to us and kind of do that. I know that this kind of stuff she can do on her own, so we're going to try that today. She might just get up and go play, and that's fine if she does that. Got some snacks for Adeline, but I'm hoping she's going to go play with some of her toddler bins in just a bit. All right, you guys, so here we are at the end of day 4. Today we were learning about the rock cycle and types of rocks. And so first let's go into here. So this is all reading. And now this is an extension activity, but what it says is look up other types of rocks that are classified as igneous rock. And then the other extension activities are kind of similar to that. Look up pictures of sandstone canyons in Utah, which we did. But I don't know, you guys, and I showed them these pictures my kids were just not engaged in the lesson today. I don't know what that is. Sometimes that happens, so I don't know if it's necessarily because of the lesson itself or I don't know, the topic. Maybe they were just having an off day. I don't know. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to let them watch a Magic School Bus video later on about kind of the rock cycle. So yeah, so I ended up like I started reading a few of it, I glanced it, and I kind of hit the big points, but then I didn't end up reading a whole lot of it because I could just tell they just really weren't into it. Once I got to this picture and kind of really showing them the rock cycle right here, then my oldest Abby was a little bit more interested in it. And something I haven't mentioned before, these optional spelling words from this lesson. Now, I don't know, again, if I'm missing something because I only have a sample week that they have available online. But for our early readers, magma is the optional spelling word from this lesson, but I don't know what to do with that. I know the first day it was fault, and I had them just write the word fault, but there's no real other guidance for spelling that I could tell. So I'm going to show you Solomon's notebook here. So the same thing, very first page, we've got coloring, and then they had them draw color in Nevada, which I don't know why they had them color in Nevada when we talked about Utah a lot in the lesson. So I'm not really sure how Nevada played into it. Maybe I missed it. I'm not sure. So I had them copy this. We didn't really go into this. And then they had them draw, this is the Bible portion of it, where the parable where Jesus talks about if you build your house on a rock, then you're a wise person. If you build a house on the sand, then you're a foolish person. And so he drew that. And so that was nice. Here they had them copy this. And I'd like to see a little bit more of what they do with these memory verses. Because up here it says, see how much of this you can remember. But I mean, it's right here. So I'm not sure if I was supposed to fold the page down and see how much of it he can remember. Because then down here it says, you got these many words right. And then it says, now run around the house these many times. And so I kind of like that, but I mean, it was right here. So I don't know how I was supposed to do that. So sorry. Now this was a cut and paste, and it was just copying the rock cycle. And if you saw over here in the teacher's guide, I've got the rock cycles here. So it's magma, metamorphic rock, sedimentary rock, and then I think this is I never know how to say that. Igneous rock, but it's not here. So I think that really might be just a mistake. And so over here we had, they had to cut it up and then put them in the order of the rock cycle. So I thought that was kind of neat. So magma, and again, it doesn't have it up here, but that's okay. I just helped him out, and he did it, and that was really good. And then the last thing here was just drawing this. This is Bryce Canyon in Utah, and it's a sandstone canyon, and they just kind of recreated it. And so I liked that. That was really good. And then over here with Aubrey, this actually worked out a lot better than having her try to do the pre-reader's notebook from Gather Round. I just grabbed some stuff from her Letter of the Week program and had her do things that I knew that she could do on her own, and it worked. And so once she was done with that, she was content and she was satisfied with how school went for her, and she went off and she played, and so that was worked really well. Yeah, guys, so that is the recap for day 4. Okay, you guys, well, I think that kind of gave you an idea of how it worked for us, but I am going to go ahead and just give you kind of what I liked and what I didn't really like, and then I'm going to tell you whether or not we are going to use it this year. So first things, what I liked. The first thing that I liked was that it was very visually appealing. The pictures are great. The pictures are beautiful. The way that it's laid out is very easy to follow. And I mean, the covers are gorgeous. Like, I love these like watercolor things. The one for the human body, like, it grabs me every time. It's so good. The illustrations are very, very well done. You can tell that they have put a lot of work into them. So I really like that part of it. The second thing that I really like about it is I like the concept. I like the idea of having all of your kids gather around you and just learning all together. We do that with, the unit studies from Beautiful Feet books. We do it with the Good and the Beautiful unit studies. We do it with like circle time and morning time. Now, the difference in the Gather Round Homeschool concept, I think, is that the idea is that it's got everything in it. Some language arts and some geography and some spelling, and just different things like that. Whereas, like, for instance, the good and the beautiful science units, they don't have necessarily all of that. It's very focused on what you're learning, your science that you're learning. But I do like this concept. I don't know, and this is my opinion, you guys, this is completely my opinion. I don't know if this curriculum can stand on its own. In my personal opinion, there's not enough in here, like as far as spelling and geography and language arts, at least from what I saw. I don't feel like there is enough in here for it to be like your standalone curriculum where that's all that you use. You don't use anything else as far as math. Well, it says that you need to use math because it doesn't have any math in here, but like language arts or anything like that. I don't know if that's necessarily their intention, that they want you to use this as a standalone curriculum, but it is definitely a great supplement. The next thing that I like about it is that it's got the workbooks for each level. I really do like that idea. I like that the kids are able to have their own pages and everything's printed out for them already, and they're able to kind of do that stuff on their own. I will say, however, the levels that we got, they couldn't really do it completely on their own, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. But I do like the idea of all of the students having their own stuff. Another thing that I liked about Gather Round Homeschool is that my kids liked it. My Abby especially, she was just, you could tell she was just absorbing all of the information that I was reading to her. She's going into 2nd grade, so I think this is a very good time for her to be using this kind of curriculum. And I mean, even my Solomon, my 5-year-old, he wasn't necessarily engaged as much as my 6-year-old was, but he learned some stuff, and especially when we're talking about the Titanic and just different things like that, he did really enjoy himself. So those were the things that I really enjoyed about the curriculum, and I really liked it. Now let's get into the things that didn't quite work for us. The first thing, and you probably got this from all of the clips from before, but it was a lot of reading. Like, oh my goodness, my mouth was just so dry all the time. It was just so much reading for me. I wasn't used to it. I do read alouds with the kids, and they love it, and they soak up those books, like living books and stuff like that. But reading this kind of stuff it's just a little bit different. And I don't know, maybe I should try like the Africa unit or something, another unit, because geology can be a little dry already by itself. So reading some of that stuff was hard. And so what I normally do with this kind of stuff is I will read it and then kind of re-explain it to the kids kind of in terms that they understand, because they are little. But I found that I couldn't even do that with this one. While an entire glacier slips forward on a thin layer of water and sediment, that is between the glacier and the ground, this is called basal slip. Ice can melt on the glaciers, and it often happens where the ice touches the ground. The water that melted then mixes with sediment, like small rocks, sand, and dirt, at the base of the glacier. This acts as a lubricant, a substance that makes something slippery, like oil, between the glacier and the ground, and the glacier then will slip forward. Glaciers can also work their way over small barriers in their path, like rocks. And it might just be that, the subject of geology itself is just dry, and, it's hard to explain it, and it's hard to understand. I found I couldn't understand all of it. I'm not too proud to admit that I couldn't understand all of it. So then it was really hard for me to explain it to the kids. So the other thing that I didn't like, or that didn't work for us, is that the pre-reader level doesn't go along with what you're teaching your older kids. And normally that's okay because, you just want to keep their hands busy. But I found that there were some things in the pre-reader level that I actually needed to be engaged with my preschooler on, and things that she couldn't do on her own. And so I wasn't quite sure how to do that. And I think it's because the pre-reader and the early reader, they both require you to be engaged with the students. So like my 2 older ones, they needed my help on certain things, and then my pre-reader needed my help on certain things, and having them doing 2 different things was hard. If my pre-reader's workbook was similar, just a little bit similar to what they were doing, then maybe that would have worked. And they did have some like coloring sheets, like one was coloring a volcano, one was coloring an iceberg, but those didn't keep her engaged for very long. So I was having trouble going back and forth between the two, and I didn't quite understand or know how that was supposed to work. And so that might have just been me. I don't know, because I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be able to do them both at the same time. So I'm not quite sure how that works. So that was something that just didn't work for us, and I think it might be specific to just the age of my kids. So because they both require my attention and they're both completely different things, that, you know, it was just hard for me to go back and forth. And then the last thing that I didn't necessarily like about it is that the cutting, and this is something small, but that the cutting sheets for the different activities, for the cutting and pasting activities in the early reader were all the way back in the appendix, mostly because my kids were having a hard time finding them because they don't necessarily have the, I don't know if they don't necessarily grasp the idea of appendices yet, I don't know how to say that, but they would try to flip back and look for it in the back of the book, and then they couldn't find it, and then that was causing a whole to-do, you know, because then I had to go through each of their books. And so anyway, so that was, it's something small, but something like if they could just have it, you know, on that same page, and they cut off the bottom of the same page, you know, and I'm sure that they have their reasons for putting them in the back. You guys, this is all just me and like my personal opinion. So, you know, I just like things for our family to have it as efficient as possible for obvious reasons, because then I will just lose their attention, and then for the most part, then at that point the day's gone. All right, you guys, so that's what I liked and what I didn't necessarily like. And so now the question is, are we going to be using it for our family this year? And you probably kind of already guessed, we won't be using it this year. Does it mean that we will never use Gather Round Homeschool? No. I actually am looking forward to trying it again next year when my kids are a little bit older. When a lot of you guys, when you found out I was kind of trying it out, you asked me for my opinion, and that if I thought that it worked for a family that only had little kids. And honestly, you guys, this is not bashing the curriculum at all. Like I said before, it is a wonderful supplement, and it is so good, and it's full of rich, good information and activities. But in my opinion, I don't think that it works for a family that only has little kids because of the reasons that I said before, as far as you've got kids that are working on different things, and it's just so hard to keep their attention when they're that small. And it's so much good information, and I feel like they didn't grasp a whole lot of that information because they were so small. Now, if you only have one child, so say you have one child in the first grade or in the second grade, and you want to use this curriculum, then go for it. I think that if I only had even two children, if I only had my two oldest children, then I think that this would work for us. But when you add in, you know, now then I have a preschooler and then also a toddler and also a baby, it just gets a little bit too chaotic. So that's my personal opinion, that I don't think this works for families that have only younger kids. But like I said before, I am going to try it next year. I am looking forward to a time when it does work for us, but I don't want to push it onto my kids right now when there are other curriculums that might fit them a little bit better right now in their age range, because we can always use Gather Round Homeschool later on. So after saying all of that, I want to encourage you guys, don't take my word for it. I mean, you guys asked for my opinion, and so I wanted to share it with you. But like I said, that week's worth of lessons is available for free online at their website. I'll leave their website linked below, so you can go and you can check that out for yourself. Print out as many copies as you need and see if it works for your family. All right, you guys, but don't forget to subscribe and and click the little bell icon so you know whenever new videos pop up. I still have a good amount of homeschool videos to share with you guys curriculum wise, and I have a few giveaways coming up, so don't forget to subscribe and let's be friends. Follow me over on Instagram at Dina_pursuing_peace. I am currently right now going through the mammals unit from The Good and the Beautiful and doing kind of the same thing where I give you kind of a day-by-day setup and recap of how everything went and how we're liking it or not liking it. Oh, who knows? So follow me over on Instagram to get the inside scoop on all of that. All right, you guys, well, I hope you're having a blessed day, and I will see you next week with another video. Bye. Today was a little bit harder. I thought actually, oh man, I just couldn't, it was just, I don't know. And what if, and if you thought that, and if you, and then if,